Hey guys, welcome back. We've got the Savage Bmag out on the bench. I decided to go ahead and work on it and try and get this factory stock bedded. So that's going to be stage one of the improvements. So I've already added my epoxy and it's been about 22, 23 hours since I did that. So we're going to take it apart here and see how it formed here, but to kind of give you an idea of what I've done so far. So we've got the barreled action set in the stock. It's torqued. The two action screws are torqued. It's we had good compression on the epoxy, so I think it's going to work out really well. I don't know how it looks yet. We're going to find that out together. Put some tape around the front end of the barrel to kind of get some spacing. I'll put a before and picture in this. If you guys remember, we had some barrel touching the stock here on the left-hand portion. So hopefully this will take care of it. So I'm going to take our Allen key here, and we are going to proceed to take this sucker apart and see how we did. I think it's going to do quite well. I just used some standard epoxy, nothing out of the ordinary, nothing fancy. This is just a rimfire rifle, I know. I don't think it's going to take much to really get some stabilization of the action itself. So I'm hoping this will take care of some of the flyers that we've seen from this rifle. I've got some other shooting I've done since I've did this, so we'll talk about a little bit of that after we get some initial shots done after our upgrades here as well, and we'll see kind of a compare and contrast how it did. And for the price spent, I mean, it's definitely worth a try to do. So, all right, got both of our screws here out, and hopefully I put enough release agent on that we shouldn't have any problem coming apart. And we don't. Good deal. So let's pull this out and up. There's our barreled action. Good and oily, just what we wanted, so nothing stuck, and it come out quite freely. So let's see here. Yeah, that's really good. That worked out really well. Okay, so right here, I kind of built it up, and I'll put some steel shots in. I put some of my some of my daughter's Play-Doh in here to kind of keep the epoxy from running out. But now we've got kind of some makeshift recoil lugs here, so that's really cool. And I did put a little bit of epoxy here in the back, and to kind of give it a little bit of stabilization here on the reverse side too. So that's awesome. I'll take and clean this up with a Dremel on the outer edges and get all this Play-Doh out of here, and I think we'll be good to go. Let me remove, whoops, sorry about that guys, this tape here, and see what we look like as far as the barrel itself floating. I'm hopefully optimistic that this took care of that, so we shouldn't have an issue with the stock touching that left-hand portion of the barrel anymore. That could have also been inducing some of that bullet drift downrange, potentially. So let's this back in here. Set that in there. And as you can see, we've got a good amount of gap space there under the barreled action. Awesome. So that should do the trick. All right, so I'm also going to be filling the buttstock here portion with some epoxy resin to kind of beef up this stock and give a little bit of balance to the rifle. So I think that's going to be a definite benefit also. Did upgrade the scope. We're going to be putting on a Swamp Fox Patriot 6-24. So we're going to get rid of that that Simmons Pro target. I think it's horrible. So that'll be a definite help too, I'm sure. So let's get it all put back together. I'm gonna finish polishing out this area here, get all the Play-Doh out of there, and kind of fine that out a little bit, and we'll get it put back together, and let's get it back to the hod and get some rounds down range, guys. All right, guys, we've got the Bmag out on the bench here. We're going to shoot 4 different loads here, 5-shot groups at 110 yards, and see if our bedding job made any difference. So I did take and shoot a few rounds to get it on paper with the new Swamp Fox Patriot 6-24 by 50 scope. So we'll see what happens. I'm hopefully optimistic that it took some of those flyers away and we get a little bit more consistency out of the rifle, but there is only one way to find out, and that is to do it. So we're going to start off with 5 shots of the 20 grain American Eagle, the 3,000 feet per second, again at 110 yards. All right, first shots here. You guys are following along on the target cam. You can see that single shot up in the top left. All right, so I'll be honest, I'm not really happy with that group. That's essentially what this rifle and the other one that I had did. It'll shoot, you know, 3 to 4 shots relatively close in a nice decent group at 100 yards. We're shooting at 110 today, but then for whatever the reason, you'll just get a random flyer up to the upper left or to the upper right. I don't understand. And the bedding should have took care of that. Let's get some of this. These are the 25 grain Winchester 2600 feet per second. Let's see what these here do. Okay, so it doesn't look too terrible just sitting here looking through the scope. So that could be all right. That could be decent. Let's try 5 of the 20 grain Winchester now. Let's see what these do. This could very well be the same load as that American Eagle. I don't know. They do look very similar. We'll see how well these shoot here. I will say, after putting the weight in the buttstock, it's a pussycat to shoot. It was before, but the rifle itself doesn't really move at all now. So let's try 5 of those. Those are the Winchester Varmint HV. That's 3,000 feet per second, 20 grain projectile. All right, that group doesn't look too bad. Now that's shooting the 20 grain. So you guys are following along in the shot cam. You can probably see it a little bit better than me. Those are some pretty tiny holes at 110 yards, but that one there doesn't look terribly bad. Let's see. Now this is Browning BPR 25 grain. So I will say, in initial testing when I first got the rifle, it did seem to favor the 20 grain rounds. I don't know if it's really that that much difference, that 5 grain. I did see that I could post a little bit tighter group with the 20 grain versus the 25s. Whether that holds true after this, I don't know, but we'll get some closer looks at that target once we go down range. But we'll try 5 of these Brownings in the 25 grain range. Now that's a good group. That's a good group. That's very respectable there. Now I can tell you, before betting this rifle, you would not shoot 2 groups like that in a row. It would not happen. You would pull a shot. It looks like the last group with the 20 grain Winchester HV and then this Browning 25 grain, they both look to be about MOA. So let me get the camera, get some little bit more close-ups of the rifle here and kind of show you what I did in the light a little bit better, and then we'll take a walk down and look at the target. Overall, I mean, the rifle shoots great. It's just trying to get that inconsistency out of the barrel, and I know it's probably the stock, guys. It has to be. You can kind of see how our bedding turned out there, and we are now fully floated. It's still a little close to this side, but it is not touching. You can stick a dollar bill through there and it is completely free. So we got rid of that obstruction on this side. But let's take a walk down, guys. I mean, the proof is of course always in the pudding. Again, the precision capability of this rifle, that's what was in question. And the first one that I reviewed, granted, it did have a blued heavy barrel, but it just was not a consistent shooter. It was, I mean, about 1.5 to 2 MOA. That's about what that gun averaged. So I was hopefully optimistic that this one here would do a little bit better. For the most part, it shot about 1.5 inches at 110 yards, which granted, it is a rimfire, I know that, but it should be a little bit more accurate and precise than that. The bedding of the factory stock is definitely cheap enough to try. If you guys looking into maybe purchasing an aftermarket stock. Now granted, it's how far down the rabbit hole do you want to go? That's always the question. But let's see here. Okay, I can live with that. That's actually not bad. We've got this with that 20 grain Winchester, okay? And then there's that Browning. That's a great group. Here's a nickel. Give you kind of a size comparison, guys. There's a nickel on that one. Not a bad group. That shot there opened it up just a little. And see, these 4 shots here, that's not bad. But that right there is what that would do. That gun, I don't know. And this isn't the only one that's done that. My other one did the same thing. It would shoot 3 or 4 good shots, precise little group, and then it'd throw one. And then, I don't know. And then over here, see, it's kind of doing the same thing. A nice tight little 4-shot group, and then it'd throw one. I don't know, because that right there is great group. But you factor that one in, you're well over 1 inch again. So you're back into that 1.5 to 2 inch MOA range. So that's kind of what I was fighting with a little bit with that rifle. Now I think it's I think that the bedding is going to be fine on that for what it is, guys. I mean, now, granted, it's not an aftermarket bedded stock or anything like that. It's just what it came with. It cost me all of about, what, $9 to do that job. So it was definitely worth the try. And I can tell you for a fact, it would not shoot 2 groups like that back to back before I did that bedding. So will I put it in another stock? I don't know. Honestly, guys, probably not. For what I do, it's perfectly fine just to dink around with. And like I mentioned in the initial video, you can still find 17 WSM ammo. So that's the great thing about this caliber right now, where you can't really find much of anything else. You can still find a box or 2 of that 17 WSM out. So it's definitely worth looking into. But if you guys got any questions on this, post them up. I'm always glad to help. Hit me up on the Facebook page. Like and subscribe. It really helps the channel, guys. And as always, shoot straight.